Again, there's 10 miracles that were done in the Holy Temple. One was, the first miracle, is that no woman ever miscarried because of the aroma of the holy meat. So you probably know that women have, especially when they're pregnant, they have craving. And at the time of the temple, as we're going to learn the halacha later on, so I'm not going to spend so much time over here right now, if you would not give her the food that she wants, there's a danger for the baby to miscarry, and also there's a danger for the woman. We're going to discuss it later on, so I'm not going to discuss it right now. So that was the first miracle. Second miracle, lo esriach basar hakodesh me'olam. There was meat over there that stood in the temple ground, and some of it stood for a long time, and it never smelled. It never became rotten. Number 3, lo nira zvuv bebeit hamitbachayim. There was never a fly in the place where they used to slaughter. They used to slaughter hundreds, sometimes even thousands of animals a day. And you can imagine thousands of animals a day being slaughtered, and there's no fly in Beit HaMikdash. There was no flies. Number 4, lo yirakeri lekohen gadol beyom HaKippurim. The high priest never had an emanation. He never became impure before Yom Kippur. Number 5, lo chibuk shamim esh el atzei ha'maracha. It doesn't matter how hard he trained, the fire on the altar always was lit. You can have a storm like we had on Shabbos. You remember the storm we had on Shabbos over here? It doesn't matter. You can have a storm like this, the fire would stay alight. Number 6, lo nitzcha haruach et amud ha'ashan. When the smoke from the korbanot, from the sacrifices, went up to heaven, it went up like in a glass tube, it looks like. And the wind did not disperse the smoke. Number 7, lo nimtza pisul ba'omer ub'shtei halechem u'belechem hapanim. All the sacrifices that had to do with bread never had a problem in them. Worms, or became impure, or whatever the problem. There's many problems that can happen. That never happened. In other sacrifices it happened, but this it never happened. Another thing that we all know about it, omdim tzfufim umishtachavim revachim. When the people came to the temple, there were so many people in the temple, especially during the 3 regalim, during the 3 holidays, that people were squished in like sardines. And the ones that they were really squished in was on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, you can imagine, like in Shul, everybody was in the temple. And they were all squished like sardines. So imagine, everybody is standing like this, and all of a sudden it's time to do what? To bow down. It's down to bow down. And many times throughout Yom Kippur. And what happens? When it was time to bow down, everybody, and by the way, and in Yom Kippur, when you bow down, you didn't bow down like today. Completely flat in the temple. That's how you bow down. Completely flat. So everybody was squished like sardines when they were standing over there, and when it came down to bow down, everybody had room with 4 amot in between. Not just room. They didn't touch each other at all. 4 amot in between. That was another miracle. Another miracle, number 9. Lo hezik nachash ve'akrav b'Yerushalayim. A snake or a scorpion never harmed anybody in Yerushalayim. And number 10, lo amar adam lechavero tzar li hamakor she'alin b'Yerushalayim. And number 10, no person told his friend that I don't have enough room in Yerushalayim. These are the 10 miracles. Now, we already explained on previous weeks what Ethics of the Father is all about. Ethics of the Father is not a book of halacha. It's a book for us to know how to go beyond the letter of the law. How to do extra. Not just what to do. The question that immediately when you read this thing, it has nothing to do with what Hasidim should act. What do you mean go? What's that got to do with me? You're teaching me some halachas, some miracles, got nothing to do with me. It looks like it doesn't belong in Ethics of the Father. Yeah. So the question that we're going to have to deal with, why did they put this Mishnah in Ethics of the Fathers? Obviously, it has a message for me personally, how I have to act, and we need to figure out I have to act. Now, we're not going to don't have time to address all 10 miracles, but we're going to try to address 3 of the miracles. And we're going to see those 3 miracles, what does it have to do with being a chassid, with going beyond the letter of the law? Okay? Number 1. Let's do in the bottom of page number 1. צריך להבין, we need to understand. העניינים של מסכת אבות, everything we learn in this tractate, הם מילי דחסידותא. They are words to go beyond the letter of the law. ולכאורה, and now it doesn't make sense, מהי ההוראה במילי דחסידותא מזה ש10 ניסים נעשו בבית המקדש? What does these 10 miracles have to teach me how to go beyond the letter of the law? It's got nothing to do with me. It's what happened, miracles in the temple. What's got to do with me? So let's see. So some people, by the way, this is a question that immediately all the commentaries ask. If you open up to say, you see it, it's an immediate question. Everybody asks these questions. So the question is, people try to give a lot of explanation. So we're going to go through some of the explanation, and we're going to see if it works. So, בכללות יש לומר הביאור בזה, we can generally explain this, שנוגע לדעת גודל העילוי של בית המקדש. That, you know what, it helps you to know how holy was the temple. שבו ראו בגילוי ניסים שלמעלה מהטבע. The temple was so holy, you could see miracles above nature. Why? כדי לחזק את אהבותה בביטול סיבת הגלות. Because right now we're in exile, because we sinned, we didn't behave the right way, so it's going to motivate us to act extra nicely so that we can bring all these miracles back. That's somewhat some people are trying to say. מפני חטאינו גלנו מארצנו, we caused all these miracles to disappear, שעל ידי זה יתבטל גם המסובב, ועד שתהיה עבודה באופן של לפנים משורת הדין והוא המצווה. In other words, it's going to encourage you to perform Torah on a higher level, to bring back all these miracles. That's what some commentary says. שזהו הדרך עניין הניסים שלמעלה מהטבע. Okay. But the Rebbe says, no, it doesn't make sense. אבל ביאור זה אינו מספיק. It's a nice explanation, and it's a true explanation, but it's not enough. It's not enough. There's something missing there. להיותו עניין כללי והוראה כללית ולא הוראה פרטית, because it's still, you have, so you can say, bring back the temple, and you don't have to enumerate the 10 miracles. It says, bring back the holy temple, that's good enough. Be extra careful. You don't, each one teaches you something. And the question is going to be now, practically, each one, what is it going to teach us? Like I said, we're not going to go through all 10. We're just going to do 3, if we have enough time. והרי לא די בהוראה כללית כמבואר בכמה מקומות של אחרי התבוננות כללית. So in general, for us to be nicer people, צריכה להיות גם התבוננית פרטית בעניין פרטי. In other words, we have to take something from this message and to incorporate it into our life. How can I act differently because what I learned over here? שדווקא היא פועלת בנוגע למעשה פרטי. ולכן יש צורך להוסיף ולבאר גם הוראה פרטית מזה ש10 ניסים נעשו לבותינו בית המקדש. So now we have to learn that there were 10 miracles that happened to our forefathers in the temple. So let's look at the first one. The first one, the Rebbe says, it's the strangest one. It says, I would never, in other words, the Rebbe's logic is going to say, I would never start Pirkei Avot with this halacha. Because why? For a couple of reasons. The first halacha that we learned is that a woman doesn't miscarry. Yeah? He says, it doesn't make sense to start over there. You want to start somewhere? Say there was no flies in Yerushalayim. Or start with Yom Kippur and the high priest. I don't know. But that, and by the way, this is not even a thing that happened in the temple, if you noticed. It happened where? In Yerushalayim. It says, why would you start? It's not a miracle that happened that has to do with the temple. It's a miracle that has to do with the woman. It's got nothing to do with us. L'ch'ura. So the Rebbe asked, צריך להבין, we need to understand on page number 3, מדוע נזכר לכל לראש הנס, why is the first miracle that is mentioned, שלא הפילה אישה מריח בשר הקודש, that a woman did never miscarry from having the smell. So we'll have to understand it later on, but we're going to explain it to me here. לכאורה יש להזכיר תחילה, הנישואים שיראו עם בשר הקודש עצמו. You know what's more important? Mention that the meat never became spoiled. That's the number one. Then you can mention the woman, if you want. שלא הסריח, או בבית המקדש עצמו, שלא נראה זבוב בבית המטבח החיים. Or imagine, have you ever been to a butcher, a place where there's cows? Forget even not the butcher, just a place where there's cows. Forget a butcher. If there's animals around, you know what you have around? Flies. That's a great miracle. Immediately you can know. Imagine there's a butcher, thousands of animals, blood, guts, all over the place. Other things on the floor, not one fly. That's a great miracle. That you mentioned first. What's with this woman thing? Or you want to have another one? שלא כיבו הגשמים, אש אל עצי המערכה. You can say whenever how much he trained, the fire stood. ולא ניצחה הרוח את עמוד העשן. You want to say something else? The wind never moved the smoke. The smoke went up, just like this. And similar this. Why do you start in the beginning in that halacha? Okay. ובפועל. מתחילה משנה עם הנס, but we see that the Mishnah decided to start with this miracle. That there was never a miscarriage by a woman because of the meat of the sacrifices, which we're going to explain soon. שאינו קשור עם בית המקדש עצמו, and that in itself has got nothing to do with the temple. נס זה היה גם מחוץ לבית המקדש. This miracle didn't necessarily happen in בית המקדש. It happened in all Yerushalayim, where they smelled it. It has got nothing to do with the temple itself.
Why would she miscarriage if she smelled it? They don't understand.
So we're going to discuss this soon. We'll explain it better soon. אפילו מחוץ לחומת ירושלים. It happened even outside of Yerushalayim itself. If she smelled it, she did. שגם שם היה יכול להתפשט ריח בשר הקודש, because the smell from the barbecue that was happening over there carried many miles. הדרך שמצינו בגמרא, how do we know that the smell carried many miles? Because we know halachically that they could smell the ktoret, the incense that was brought on the mizbeach, and it was a little bit of incense. They could smell it all the way to Yericho. Now, what's the distance from Yericho to Yerushalayim? Quickly. How many? About 30 kilometers, about, let's say, 20 miles. Around 20 miles, you could smell it. Yeah? שהתפשט והגיע עד ליריחו. וגם שם היה נס שמצד קדושת הבשר לא בא תקלה על ידו, לא הפילה על אישה. And also over there was a miracle with the ktoret that a woman never had a miscarriage. So say it about the ktoret, the same thing. Okay. So let's see. והביאור. So now we're going to explain what's going on over here. בקודשים. Now, we have to remember that the nature of women, by the way, this is almost, it becomes in Jewish tradition, I don't know if the Goyim hold this tradition, in Jewish tradition, it became, even today we keep it, even though the nature of the women today are different. You know, especially by Sephardic families, if the woman is pregnant and she says, I want strawberries, and it's the middle of winter, what do? You have to go. It's a tradition. Why? Why did the tradition continue until this day? Because in the time of the Gemara, in the time of the Mishnah, if you didn't give her whatever she smelled, it was such a pain to the woman, she would have a miscarriage, and on many occasions she would die herself. And I'll tell you how halachic it's significant. It's the significance for halacha. People say, it's not so important. At that moment, the halacha was like this, that if she went around and somebody was barbecuing pig, and she said, I want the pig, says, what do you have to do? Feed her the pig. Yeah. That's the halacha. Yeah. That's Jewish halacha. And I'll give you another thing. If it's in the mid, because women did have a miscarriage. Women did die at the time. The nature of women changed. By the way, the nature of women changed. It doesn't happen anymore. You're right. But in the old time, that used to happen. No, we don't give a pigs today.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's if you're Sephardic, not if you're Ashkenaz. Yeah. So, an interesting thing, what happens if she smelled on Yom Kippur? On Yom Kippur she smelled, so the thing again, you feed her on Yom Kippur. That's what you do. If she says, I'm going to die, you take the meat and you feed her on Yom Kippur. Well, we discussed that. Yeah. But the halacha is that what? That even on Yom Kippur, you feed her. Okay. Habi'ur. Bekodashim. Now imagine what happens. The halacha is that when it comes to sacrifices, especially on holidays, the kohanim of that shift have to eat all the meat. You can't leave it just to go. So they have to consume it. So the kohanim ate enormous amount of meat. All the sacrifices, the kohanim have to eat. It has to be consumed. It's a halacha.
Thousands they slaughtered thousands.
Oh, very good. So you don't have to. Some of the meat, it depends what kind of sacrifice it is. Some of it you can even take it home to Yerushalayim. Some of the meat you can take it out of the Azara. Some of the meat you have to eat in the Azara. There's many things. But there is an opportunity to prepare the meat but for sure you have to be a male Kohen for the ones in the temple. For the meat that was eaten in the temple, you have to be a male Kohen. So Dixon, בקודשים, when it comes to all the sacrifices, יש דין שאכילתם צריכה להיות באופן שלמשכה לגדולה. It says they have to eat it good steak. It has to figure, in other words, you put good spices on it. You just don't throw it on the barbecue with a little bit of salt. You marinate it in beer. You make it good, like it's supposed to do. Like a nice piece of steak. שזהו דווקא כאשר הבשר הוא לא בשר חי. In other words, you have to cook it first of all. You're not allowed to eat it when it's raw. אלא צלוי, שלוק ומבושל. You have to fry it, you have to cook it, you have to do something with it. באופן שיהיה טוב וערב בגשמיות כפשוטו. It has to taste good. In other words, it's a sacrifice. You have to enjoy it. It has to be like wine. It has to be delicacy. וכמו בנוגע לאכילת בשר ביום טוב, just like we eat good flesh on Yom Tov. We don't just throw something on the zeo and we eat it. It has to be nice. It has to be tasty. שצריך להיות בשר. ומה טוב, and how much more is it, לא רק בשר עוף, אלא דווקא בשר בהמה שמן. It says, what do you mean a chicken? Don't give me a chicken. Give me some meat like this, red meat. What are you talking about? Not even sheep is not good enough. I want some good meat, a good steak, thick, nice, with good taste. By the way, just an interesting concept. They say that when the temple was destroyed, from the moment the temple was destroyed, the taste of meat disappeared from the world. What does it mean? The reason why meat tastes good is that Kohanim can appreciate it. You can eat it as a sacrifice. Now, since people cannot eat sacrifices anymore, there's no need for the taste to remain on such a lofty level. So the taste of today just resembles the taste of the meat in the time of the temple. In the time of the temple, it tasted like, ונעשה עניין של קדושה שפועל שמחת יום טוב. אין שמחה אלא בבשר. So it was a good taste in the time. Okay. The Mishnah. Let's look at source number 1 in the Mishnah. וכולם הכהנים רשאים לשנות באכילתם. And the Kohanim, when they are eating the meat, they're allowed to alter the meat. In other words, they're allowed to give it a different taste. לאכלן צלויים ושלוקים ומבושלים. They can eat roasted, can eat boiled, cooked, whatever they want. And not only that, לתת לתוכו תבלי חולין ותבלי תרומה. They can spice it with mundane. Usually you would think, don't interchange, don't put together kedusha, holy things, with non-holy things. Over here you're allowed to take non-holy things. They have to be pure, but they can be non-holy. Yeah? The guy can bring spices from his home and put it together. He says, I have a spice at home my wife prepared. Oh, this meat is going to be good. and he's allowed to put it on. He said, not only is allowed to put it on, he's supposed to put it on. It's an extra mitzvah. Now he's going to eat it, he's going to enjoy it. Gemara. So it says, where's the Gemara explains, where do we learn this? מה הטעם והמקור להלכה זו? Where do we learn this? אמר הכתוב במתנות כהונה. So it says about the verse talking about the presents that the Jews give the Kohanim, which is part of it is the sacrifices. לך נתתים למשך ולבניך לחוק עולם. It says, I gave the Kohanim a part of every sacrifice. ומתרגמים למשך לגדולה. And למashcha means to anoint it, means to improve it, to make it nice, to prepare it like a chef. שיהיה בשר הקורבן נאכל בדרך גדולה, כדרך שהמאכלים אוכלים. In other words, it's like you bring chefs and they make it for you, nice ones.
I would bring my smoker.
Oh, very good. ובכן, and now let's go back to our Mishnah and start to figure out, okay, everything is nice, what got to do with me? And especially, what is it to do with extra pious, extra Hasidim, going beyond the letter of the law? What's got to do with me? ובכן, but continuing, מי מבשל את הבשר שיהיה טוב וערב? Who cooked the meat? That the meat is going to be good? הרי זו האישה. The cooks were the women. They used to be the cooks.
Today is the man on the bottom.
Maybe, but in that time, the man was busy working. Or the women were the one who prepared the food. ועל דרך זה מובן בנוגע לבשר הקודש. And now we're going to understand. In the temple itself, in the temple ground, in the Azara, they had a big tables over there that Kohanim used to hang around, and there was a whole tzevet, a whole group of women, 200, 300 women, who was busy doing what? Preparing the meat. That's why the Kohanim, they didn't have time to start preparing the meat, making sauces. They had a job to do. Who was preparing the meat? Those women. שהאישה היא זו שמבשלת בצלת הבשר, שיהיה באופן של המשחה לגדולה. To use to prepare it, it's going to be beautiful. וכיוון שכן, and now comes the problem. She is not allowed to eat from the food of the Kohanim. Only a Kohen, Zachar, only a male Kohen is allowed to eat it. She's pregnant, she comes and she prepares it, and she says, I want, it's right there in her nose, she's preparing it. So she says what? Hey, give me some. Yeah? שבוודאי התעוררה אצלה תשוקה גדולה לאכול את בשר הקודש. For sure, immediately she had a great desire to eat from that meat. שיהיה ערב למאכל וריחון עודף, because imagine the smell of it. The whole thing was with the barbecue. כנראה במוחש בנוגע לבשר צלי, like we know, when you make a barbecue, the whole neighborhood knows. וכמסופר במדרש, בנוגע לפסחו של משה, שריח הצלי היה מתפשט והולך. Like the Midrash says, that when Moshe brought the sacrifice, the entire nation smelled it. וזאת ועוד. Now we're going to go even deeper. טבע ההורים, the nature of parents is what? שמשתדלים ומוסרים נפשם לטובת ילדיהם. That the parents will give their life for the children. They're willing to die for the children. גם בנוגע לעניינים כאלה שבשביל עצמם לא היו משתדלים בהם. Even for things, the parent will not harm himself for it by saying, for my child, I'm going to do everything. For me, I don't care. But for him, I'm willing to die. ולכן מטבע הדברים, and now he explains, this is the nature. What's happening over here? It's a spiritual thing that's happening. What's the nature? שאישה מעוברת, you've got a woman who's pregnant, תרצה לאכול מבשר הקודש. She will want to eat from the meat. Not necessarily for her. It's not that she wants to be like a Kohen. It says, maybe even if she doesn't want to be like a Kohen, for in her nature, she feels, I'm eating it for whom? If I eat it, my baby eats it. In other words, I'm not going to do it for me. I'm going to do it for whom? For the baby. לא בשביל עצמה, אלא טובת העובר. I'm going to do it for the baby. שהוא אוכל ממה שאמו אוכלת. The baby is going to eat from what I'm eating. And in her mind she's thinking she can be a wife of a Kohen. She is not allowed to eat the meat. But my baby is allowed to eat the meat. He's a Kohen. So I'm not eating it for me even. In her mind. I'm eating it for him. ובפרט, על פי מה שמצינו בנוגע לאומרת שהריחה, especially that we know the halacha, when it comes to a pregnant woman that smelled something, שזהו בגלל התאווה והתשוקה של העובר למאכל זה. The reason why she smells it, because the baby has a desire for that thing. It's not her. It's a desire. And how do we know it's not her? Because no woman who is not pregnant in the middle of the night says, I want pickles. It's only when she's pregnant she does it. It's the baby that makes her to want the pickle in the middle of the night. שמתמלאת על ידי זה שאוכל ממה שאמו אוכלת. In other words, the baby is pushing the mother, go get it for me. כמסופר בגמרא. So let's look at the Gemara. The Gemara tells us two cases about this, what you brought before, Aryeh. בקשר לאישה שהתאוותה לאכול ביום כיפור. So there was a case in Yerushalayim that a woman wanted to eat in the middle of Yom Kippur. וניסקו להזכיר לה שיום כיפור היום. They told her, hey, מיסי, it's Yom Kippur, we don't eat. ומשמע מהסיפור שעניין זה היה תלוי במהותו של העובר. And we're going to see that it's because of the baby she wanted to eat. אם הוא בצד הטוב או להפך. What do you mean because of the baby? Whether the baby was good or the opposite of good. Let's see. Source number 2. This is the halacha. This is the Mishnah. This is from Masechet Yoma. So it says like this. Ubara shehericha, a pregnant woman that smelled something, ma'achilin ota, says you feed her even in the middle of Yom Kippur. This is Yom Kippur he's talking about. We are on page number 6. A pregnant woman in the middle of Yom Kippur is smelling something. She wants, I need it. Says you feed it to her. Ad shetachiv nasha. Until she doesn't crave it anymore. Again, why? It's dangerous. So Rashi explains, ha'ubar meriach reach hatavshil. It's not her. It's the fetus is smelling it through his mother, והוא מתאווה לו, and he wants it. ואם אינה אוכלת, and if she's not going to eat it, it's dangerous both for her and for the baby. The Gemara tells us the story of how we learned this. Tells us a story like this. מעוברת אחת הריח דבר מאכל. There was a pregnant woman who smelled some kind of food during Yom Kippur. ונתאווה לאכלו, and she wanted to eat it. She was shouting, she was screaming, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Her husband didn't know what to do. In the middle of Yom Kippur, she's screaming, give me, give me, give me, give me. באו לפני רבי, so they come in front of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi, אמר להם, so Rabbi told to them, לכו ולחשו לה באזנה שיום הכיפורים הוא. Go remind her that today is Yom Kippur. לחשו לה, so they did remind her, והואילה לה לחישה, says, okay, you know what, if it's Yom Kippur, I'm okay, I don't need to eat. ופסקה מלהתאבות, and at that moment she didn't want to eat anymore. קרא עליו רבי על התינוק, so Rabbi says, it has nothing to do with the woman. It means there's something special about the baby. What did he say about the baby? בטרם אצרך בבטן ידעתיך. He says, even before you were born, God is already with you. He tells the baby. Yeah, in other words, you're holy. I can see it. You're a holy baby. ואכן אותו... What? That's right. ואכן אותו תינוק שיצא ממנה היה רבי יוחנן. And that baby that came out of this occurrence that we learned over here was whom? Was Rabbi Yochanan. Next story. וסיפור אחר on page number 7. מעוברת אחת שהריחה ונתאוותה ביום הכיפורים לאכילה. There was another woman who wanted to eat in Yom Kippur. באו לפני רבי חנינה בשאלה מה לעשות עמה. They came in front of רבי חנינה. Hey, what should we do? אמר להם, לחשו לה שיום הכיפורים היום. Says, tell her, it's יום כיפור. לחשו לה כדבריו. So they say to her, it's יום כיפור. ובכל זאת המשיכה להתאבות לאכילה. Never they say, she's continued to scream, give me, give me, give me. יום כיפור, no יום כיפור, I need to eat. Pickles is important. Yeah? קרא עליו רבי חנינא על תינוק זה. So before he was even born, Rabbi Hanina said about this baby, Zuru Reshaim Merechem. It says, this is a Rasha still when he's in his mother's stomach. Yeah? כלומר, מבטן אימה מתברר שהם זרים. He says, from the beginning, I saw that there's something stinky about this guy. Yeah? ואכן, יצא ממנה, and it's true. After this child grew up, we're going to see who came up from him. Who came up? What was the baby? What's his name? His name was Shabtai Otzera Perot. His name was Shabtai, the one who gathers the fruits. Why? What kind of a name is Shabtai who gathers the fruit? Because this guy was a smart cookie. He knew how to make money. He would wait for years of famine. And what will he do in the years of famine? He would go in the beginning of the famine into the market and he would buy all the food. Everything. He would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy the food. Now, nobody has any more food. Everybody is dying. You cannot make food. Now he can charge as much as he wants. And this is what his business was. He used to make sure to live of the pain of other people. Yeah? היה עוצר הפירות בשנות רעבון. He used to gather all the fruits in years of hunger, כדי להפקיע מחירם, in order to raise the prices, ולהרוויח כסף מן העניים. In other words, a poor person came over to him and says, give me my food, give me some food. He says, give me some money. He said, I don't have money. How much is your house worth? How much is your business worth? Come, I'll take it, don't worry. That's what he used to do to the poor people. He used to, Okay.
Question to you, if she asked for Besar HaKodesh, woman,
yeah.
and they tell him in the ear, no, you can Shum Kippur.
So as long as it's...
you can't tell her Yom Kippur, so you can't eat from it.
You're not allowed to, it's Kodesh.
Right, you're not allowed. Then she wants.
You give her.
They give her.
Yeah, they give her.
אפילו שזה קודש.
Yeah. ומזה מובן, and from here we learn, שאישה שעומדת ללדת ולד. From here we learn the thing, a woman that is about to give birth, שבצאתו לאוויר העולם תתחיל לחנכו על שדה התורה ומצוות. What's her purpose? It says, I want to teach him to be a good Jew. That woman says, I want to teach him to be a good Jew. הנה, בגלל היותה אישה כשרה, because she's a kosher woman, בוודאי תרצה לאכול בשר הקודש. She wants to be elevated. She wants her baby to be able to eat sacrifices, to be a high priest. That's what she wants. What?
So do you give her? You give her, no?
What do you mean you give her no?
Or you don't give her?
First of all, you
give her from the meat or you don't?
The first thing, you just like in Yom Kippur, you tell her you're not allowed to. So first of all, you say, this is Kodesh, you're not supposed to eat. If she's calm, she's calm. But if she's not calm, it's Pekuach Nefesh. You give, yeah. In other words, she wants her. In other words, it's the baby that wants. Yeah. The baby wants to become like a Kohen. So it's a good thing. Her baby wants to become like a Kohen, and she feels it. שיהפוך להיות דם ובשר מבשרו של העובר וישפיע עליו לטובה. He says, I want, imagine, there's no way for me to ever eat something holy. She's a woman. She is never going to do it. Now, all of a sudden, the baby has let's say he's not a Kohen, he's in Israel. He's never going to eat something holy. But his mother, he wants now. He says, it's my only opportunity to eat it in a kosher way. So he screams at his mother, Mommy, give me this kosher thing, because it's kosher. Right now, if you are going to say, I need it, it's kosher. Right? That's what the baby is screaming. She says, for you, baby, I'm willing to go. So that's why she has a desire to say it, even though he might not be a Kohen, even though he might be a Levi or Israel. ומכיוון שכן הרי מובן, so now it's understood, שכאשר אישה מעוברת מריחה בבשר קודש, מאיזו סיבה שתהיה, אינה יכולה לאכול ממנו, she's not allowed to eat from it, we know this, ואף על פי כן לא הפילה, and nevertheless, so the Kohanim, now, in truth is that theoretically, maybe you need to give it to her. But I tell you, practically, it will never happen. Because there's guards in the temple. She's in Yerushalayim. She says, I won't. The Kohanim are going to stop her. Their husband might want to push in. So they tell him, you're not coming in here. There's no women in here. You can't go in. So the danger is that's what's going to happen now. she's going to abort the baby because she's going to put.
So they wouldn't give her from the basar.
Practically, if she was in there, maybe they will have to. But practically, she could never come inside. Yeah, she would never be able to get there. So therefore, the miracle was that even though she was in Yerushalayim and she smelt it, and she never had the miscarriage. The miscarriage never happened. Okay, so this was a great miracle. But the question again, it's a very nice story. What's going to do with me? What's going to do with me? What do I learn from it? You take, over here, I'm learning it to become more pious. How am I becoming more pious from this kind of behavior? Oh, so let's see. Page 8. No, page 6. היינו בשבע? Am I missing something? Okay. So let me explain what's going on over here. I think I missed the page over here. So I'll explain to you outside. So the thing goes like this. Sometimes in our life, we want to do a holy thing. Many times. Just like this woman. This woman actually wants to do a holy thing. She wants to do something good for her baby. She is willing to go out and eat something she's not even allowed to because she has a desire to get from the korbanot, from the sacrifices that she's not allowed to eat in order for the baby. Okay? Sometimes also in our life, we have an idea to do something good for somebody else. For example, we want to, let's say we sit around the table and there's a friend who we want to help. We want to emphasize a point to a friend. So we talk about it because we really care about it. He's going off the way. He's not doing something correctly. And we really care about him. So we talk to him and we explain to him and we're going all of the way. What we sometimes don't notice that there's something bad in this behavior. You say to yourself, what can be bad? The guy is going off the way. I'm just putting him, back in the thing. Because sometimes when you're doing something good, the whole intention is 100% purity. It's 100% good. It says, he might be embarrassed on the fact that you're talking to him and there are people around. You don't have the intention to embarrass him. You don't have any intention even to do. You're telling him, hey, you're doing something wrong over here. Let me show you. And you want to encourage him. You want to elevate him. You're doing it with good heart, just like that woman is doing right over here. She's doing here, that woman who wants to eat in Yom Kippur. It's because she's doing it with a good heart. She wants an elevation. She wants something good for her child. Everything is good. So we tell you, if even in an occurrence that you want to have, that you're doing something good, if that something good happens on account, because of that, something bad is going to happen, you can't use that as an excuse by I had good intentions. We don't care if you had good intentions. Your intentions were good, everything was great, everything was nice. You embarrassed the guy, don't do it. And you say, I wouldn't be embarrassed. It's got nothing to do with if you would have been embarrassed or not being embarrassed. The fact that the guy got embarrassed, it's your fault. Yeah. So this is when you learn. What do we learn from that Mishnah? This is what we learn. Many times in our life, where it happens all the time? With children. With our children. I mean Mendel. Be a man! You know how many times I tell him, be a man, around the table? All the mother is there, the daughters is there, everybody is there. I'm thinking I'm allowed to say it. Why am I allowed to say it? I'm teaching him, I'm encouraging him, I'm this. But the guy is embarrassed. What are you doing? What are you telling me? You say, it's not today. This is, if you want to be pious, in other words, the intention is good. But because something bad can come out of it, the point is, don't do it. That's the idea. Don't do it. So this is what we learn from this Isha. Pnina and Chana, you can use it. Also another example. Very good. So that's the first lesson which we're going to learn. Let's learn another lesson, a quick one. We know it doesn't look like we're going to have enough for 3 lessons, but at least 2 lessons today. Yesh ledayek. So that's the first lesson. And by the way, this is the most important lesson. This is the introduction to all the lessons. That's why it's the first one. It says, you want to be a chassid? This is the first rule. You want to be a chassid, you want to change people, you want to do good. It says, when you do good, you can't do it on account of somebody else, of something else. That's it, you can't. If one mitzvah, you say, it's important mitzvah, be a man, what can be more important? You're embarrassing a guy? You're not allowed to, that's the idea.
Rabbi, if he took Mendel away from the table and did it privately.
In a nice way. Even then, it has to be in a nice way. If it still hurts him, he didn't do it the right way. So that's the point. You have to do it in a way that he will accept it nicely. And if you say, but it needs to be taught. Find a way, break your head until you'll be able to say it in such a manner that he'll explain it nicely. Yeah? And that's why it's the first Mishnah. It says, when it comes to being a chassid, you cannot be a chassid like what's important to you on behalf, on the back of another mitzvah. You're not allowed to. You have to be a complete chassid. Complete chassid means...
If you want to make a difference in somebody's life, you don't want to make them wrong in the process. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily wrong. You cannot embarrass somebody even if you want to be right. Sometimes in our life it says, be a man. Take it like a man. Right? No, there's no such thing. Next.
That's difficult.
Yeah. What about, so let's go to page number 8. Another example that we're going to be discussing is, יש לדייק בלשון המשנה המדגישה שנחש ועקרב לא הזיקו בירושלים. The Mishnah also emphasizes, it tells you that you should know that a snake and a scorpion never harmed anybody in Yerushalayim. Only Yerushalayim. Only the time of the temple, you're right. Only the time of the temple. מדוע לא נקטה לשון כלל... Imagine, it's 800 years, it's over 800 years. There was never a snake or a scorpion bite in Yerushalayim. So it says, immediately the commentaries ask, מדוע לא נקטה לשון כללית יותר? It says, you know what it should say? לא הזיק החיה בירושלים. No animal hurt in Yerushalayim. No lions, no wolves, no dogs beat, no horses. No. It was, the truth is that there was nothing. So say, there was no animal that hurt in Yerushalayim. That was there for 800 years. So why did it specifically say, no, the miracle was only about a scorpion and a snake? שהרי בוודאי גם יתר החיות לא הזיקו. It wasn't only snakes and scorpions. There was a dog throughout 800 years never beat a human being in Yerushalayim. A wolf never beat a human being. A coyote or whatever, a jackal, whatever they have in Israel. ויש לומר בפשטות שמכל שאר החיות, so the simple explanation is just, first of all, we go simple. Simple explanation, from all the other animals, it's not a miracle. Why it's not a miracle? Because you can close them out. There's the gates. Don't let animals in Yerushalayim. What do you mean? It's easy. אפשר להישמר על ידי סגירת שערי החומת העיר וכיוצא בזה. All the other animals you can keep outside. ולכן אין צורך בנס כדי שלא יזיקו. You don't need a miracle in order for lions not to hurt in Yerushalayim. You close the gate, no lions. Easy. לא עבד קודש ברוך הוא נשיא למגנא. This is another thing that we're going to discuss some other time. But God doesn't do miracles when it's not necessary. מה שאין כן, but it's not so when it comes to נחשים ועקרבים. You cannot close the gates of Yerushalayim for scorpions and snakes. They come under the thing. You cannot stop them. הרוחשים במחילות שבאדמה. They're just like Hamas. You know, they're down there. You cannot take them out. They're right there. אין כל אפשרות להיזהר מפניהם. There's no way to be careful from them. ולכן הוצרכו בני ישראל לנס מיוחד. That's why the Jewish people need a specific miracle. לא הזיק נחש ועקרב בירושלים. Now we understand. This is a miracle. For all the other animals you need a miracle. For a scorpion and snake you need a miracle. בכדי שלא להשבית את שמחת עולי הרגל. Because you can imagine, you come with your whole family to Yerushalayim, you get bitten by a snake, instead of a regel, you're betting for your life. This is not nice regel. That's not a nice holiday. Now, עניין זה שהקדוש ברוך הוא אינו עושה ניסים לחינם, מודגש גם בלשון המשנה שלא הזיק נחש ועקרב. The fact that God doesn't do a miracle for no reason is emphasized in the words of the Mishnah that a snake and a scorpion never harmed. כלומר, what does it mean never harmed? It means there were plenty. There were plenty of snakes and scorpions. It's not like there were no. They were snakes and scorpions בירושלים, but they never harmed. אלא שלא הזיקו. ויש לומר על פי פנימיות העניינים. So let's see, again, excuse me, you're giving me a Mishnah, so okay, now I know about snakes, I know about scorpions. What's got to do with me? I want to be pious. I want to be extra careful now in my personal day. What's got to do with me this Mishnah? So בספר ערכי הכינויים כתוב שהנחש ירסו חם. In a particular book it says that when it comes to snake, the venom of a snake and the venom of a scorpion is not the same venom. It's different. They work differently, they have different, they kill differently, let's put it this way. They call it, the venom of a snake is called hot, and the venom of the scorpion is called cold. That's what it means. בעבודת האדם, over here it's a message for you, for a person. It says, what's a person? First of all, לא הזיק נחש ועקרב בירושלים. The word ירושלים means יראה. ירושלים means יראה שלם, יראה שלמה. Or complete awe of God. That's what the word of ירושלים means. Complete awe, complete wonderment of God. That's what Yerushalayim. So he says, when do we have a complete awe of God? When is a person supposed to have a complete awe of God? At the time that he davens. So he says, a person at the time of his davening, yeah? If you're davening, you don't want the scorpion or the snake to bite you. Let's continue. בעבודת האדם, הנחש והעקרב מייצגים שני אופנים של התנגדות לקדושה. The snake and the scorpion are two ways the evil inclination comes over you and attacks you. It has two ways to attack you. Sometimes it attacks you with heat, sometimes it attacks you with coldness. Snake is heat. Nachash saraf, it says a nachash burns. That's what it does. Nachash burns. Inyano, what does it mean? Chamimut v'itlahavut b'inyanei ha'olam. He's talking about you want to stand in front of God, think about godly matters in the morning, and instead of that, you're thinking about, I have $10,000 in this business, $50,000, and I've got the new car that I want to buy over there. That car looks good. That looks good. This is right. The hotness towards physical matters is trying to battle against your Ir'ah Shlema, against Yerushalayim. You want to sit down and daven like a proper human being, and immediately the snake comes, wraps himself around you, and makes you think about the business, about the car you want, about the wife of the other guy you want, whatever it was, whatever the heat that it gives you that particular day, it takes you there. Yeah? Ve'ulam, lechach yesh takana. And it says, for that, you can fix. The bite of a snake or the warmth of a snake you can use for good. What does it mean? להפוך את ההתלהבות לקדושת אהבת השם כרשפש. It says, you became enthusiastic about the car. Now you're up, you're high, you've got energy right now. Now you can, in the middle of davening, you just got excited about the car. Keep the excitement. Don't take it away. Keep the excitement and put it now on God. It says, in other words, don't erase the excitement that God gave you. God gave you an excitement for stupidity. You realized it is. The snake came and you realized it. You can transfer it. In other words, you can transfer it. By the way, the halacha, when you stand Shmona Esrei, it says, when a snake wraps around you in the middle of Shema, what should you do?
You don't move.
Continue to daven. Don't worry, because you can elevate the snake.
And it is
So. One at a time. It says, Akrav ersokar. The scorpion, it's a cold venom. Inyano krirut. It means coldness. Be'avodat Hashem, in serving God. When a person is cold, see, when you go around and you talk to somebody about Judaism, and the guy loves women, loves wine, loves cars, loves vacation, there's somebody to talk to. You know why there's somebody to talk to? Because the guy is energetic and he loves. Love, you can channel. You can channel love. In other words, all you need to show him that, you know what? Torah and God is fun, is nice. Once he gets that Torah and God is maybe even nicer than the vacation, he says, I want it. Because he appreciates nice things. He doesn't understand that Torah is good. But once he understands that Torah is nice, Torah is desirable, he will want it automatically. See? But when someone is depressed and you want to talk to him about God, there's no one to talk to. I don't care. I mean, sitting on the bed. He said he doesn't want wine. He doesn't want women. I'm depressed. I want to sit home. There's no one to talk to. See, the guy who's excited about something, you can take the excitement and bring it to Torah. The guy who's cold cannot serve God. Here is the problem. That's right. But with coldness, what are you going to do? Take the coldness and bring it to God? You don't want it. Yeah. הנהגה זו גרועה אף יותר משל הנחש. This is even worse than a snake. כי הקרירות היא סימן להפך החיים. Because coldness is against life. על פי זה יבואן מה שאומר בגמרא על אדם בתפילה 18, נחש כרוך על עקבו לא יפסיק. That's why it says, when there's a snake as you're davening and there's a snake around you, keep on going. עקרב כרוך על עקבו, but if there's a scorpion, it says, it's not davening. Forget it. Go do something else. Middle 18, you're not davening. It says, go do something else. Why? The simple halacha is that a snake will not bite if you not move. And a scorpion will bite even if you don't move. That's the simple halacha. But the Kabbalistic explanation is the way we explained it. Right over here. So, let's look at source number 3, just to make this even more understood. In source number C, in Talmud Brachot, it says, "En omdim להתפלל אלא מתוך כובד ראש." It says, when you're supposed to daven out of understanding in front who you are standing. Not just that you come, I'm here. No, who you're standing in front. חסידים הראשונים היו שוהים שעה אחת ומתפללים כדי שיקרנו ליבם לאביהם. So the first Hasidim, what they would do? They would learn for an hour, contemplate, think about God for an hour, and only then they would daven. אפילו המלך שואל בשלומו לא ישיבנו. To such an extent that even the king is asking, how are you doing? You should not answer him. ואפילו נחש על כרוך על הקרבו לא יפסיק. And even if they get to a level that even a scorpion will come to him, he should not stop from prayer, not interrupt the prayer. The Gemara says, אמר רב ששת לא שנו לנחש, אבל הקרב פוסק. רב ששת says they're wrong. If a snake is around you, you don't start. But if a scorpion is around, no, of course you stop. And Rashi explains, אבל הקרב פוסק. But if it's a scorpion, you immediately stop. ונוט לו, and you remove him. לפי שהקרב מסוכן להכות. Because you never want to be in an environment of coldness. יותר משנחש מוכן למשוך. It's even worse than a person who, in other words, you've got two opportunities of friends. One friend is crazy. He runs around from one bar to one casino, to one bar to one casino. Another guy never does anything wrong, but you know he's depressed. He sits at home, smokes marijuana all day long, he doesn't do nothing else. He drinks beer, watch TV, and nothing. Let's go to the casino. I'm too tired. Leave me alone. No. It says, you would think, you know, the first guy is crazy. He's taking you to all places. It says, it's better to be with the first guy than with the second guy. You would think, no, this guy doesn't do anything wrong. No, it says, it's worse. It's worse to be in a depressed environment than in such an environment. That's right.
There is energy, you can
You can...
Redirected.
That's right. So כאשר יהודי עומד בתפילה, when a Jew standing davening, in ירושלים, a Jew is standing in יראה שלמה, in davening, ולפתע אוחזת בו חמימות לעיני העולם, and suddenly there's warmth towards worldly matter, אין לו להפסיק את תפילתו, he shouldn't stop. שכן סוף סוף את החיות והחמימות שבו יכולו להפוך את ההתלבטות לתשעה. You're excited? So stop speaking about the car and stop thinking about God. That's all you need to do. You're excited. You have half the job. אבל כאשר הוא עומד בתפילה ולפתע אוחזת בו קרירות, but all of a sudden he sits in davening and he is becoming cold, הנה גם אם זו נאחזת בעקבו בלבד, even though the scorpion is only on the heel, it's only a little part of coldness, it doesn't matter. כלומר שעדיין לא השפיע על מוחו וליבו. It still did not have an effect on your heart, on your intellect, on your emotion. Yet you just notice that your movements are not as energetics. You know? עליו להפסיק את תפילתו. It says, the whole service of God is wrong over here. כי קרירות היא סימן להפך החיים. Because coldness is opposite of life. ואם זהו מצבו, and this is his condition, אות הוא שכל סדר עבודתו אינו כדבעי. It means that his entire davening is not done the right way. ועליו לשנותו ולהתחיל סדר עבודה אחר. And he has to stand and start a new way to serve God. עבודה מתוך חיות והתלהבות הבאה כתוצאה מפניות התורה אילן עד החי. וזהו איפה הנס שהיה בירושלים. So now we're going to go back to the miracle that was in Yerushalayim. Now we're going to understand the miracle that was in Yerushalayim. For 800 years, Jews came to Yerushalayim, and what happened? When they daven in the temple, it's possible, think about what I'm just saying. It's possible he just came from home. In home, he's got 5 idols. That was in the second temple, first temple, there were times like this. At home, he had 5 idols. He used to worship them. He used to do this to them. He used to love them, kiss them, hug them. At the moment he comes to Yerushalayim, to the regel, this guy that yesterday was hugging and kissing the idol, now he's in Yerushalayim. You know what the zeu? יראה שלמה. Once the Jewish people came to Yerushalayim in the regel, the miracle was that no one had a thought, not a cold thought, neither a hot thought, nothing else. They didn't want physicality, and for sure they didn't want the idols, how much more so. But that's only in Yerushalayim. The next day he left back home, there was no guarantees. Yeah, it's fine. So again, what's the message for us? The message for us is that we have those idols of the guys that he has, we also have those idols. We have them at home. The hot for physicality, the heat for physicality, and the coldness for godliness. Each and every one has of us. So you want to be a chassid, you need to know. Every time you have heat for physicality, there's a way to channel it. Go and channel it. And if you have coldness to God or coldness in life, that's for sure start serving God different if you're a chassid. In other words, it says one of the things of the Hasidim is that they were happy. Hasidim are happy people. What's the idea of being happy? It says because depression is the worst. Depression is the worst. Be happy. People are going to say, why are you happy that you're sinning? It doesn't matter, I'm happy. You depressed that you're sinning? That's even worse than me being happy that I'm sinning. Yeah? Being depressed that you sin is worse than being happy and a sinner. Yeah? And that is what we learn. In order to be a chassid, this is what you need to be. So this is the message from these 2 things.